Hello guys, so it's time for us to look at the workshop. So I've just been giving it a last little lick of paint just to tidy it up and make it ready for visitors. So yeah, I'm just gonna take you through and I'm gonna show you some of the things I've done in there. Why does it never look at the camera? How do you get him to actually look directly at the camera? He's very shy, isn't he? He just doesn't ever want to actually make eye contact. My shifty man, shifty ginger tree man that you are. Anyway, so yeah, so let's go through. So I've been fiddling around with this for a while, and again, this is, I think you've probably seen this a few times now if you've watched any of the other videos. Again, this is built up on the rock, like I did with the kitchen build up there. So I built this up on the rock and made it look like we've got structural support turned off on this server, so it's got no reason to have anything actually going up to it to make it look like it's sitting up there, but I like things looking structural and I like things looking sort of fairly real. I think the more and more I play this and more I make these videos, I kind of realise how much I'm into the kind of I guess the roleplay part of playing and building, and it slightly disturbs me how sometimes it feels a little bit like I'm playing with a doll's house, but I guess I sort of am, and I'm just going to accept that and get on with it. So let's take you inside. So through the gate and up the steps. So I've done a few things in here, and obviously this has got to have function and utility as well as look cool, and allow me to do some fun building things. So I've got all the workstations in here that I use. What I tend to do and what I do in almost everything I ever build is I just get all of the crafting stations out, because I never know which piece I'm going to go, oh, that could work quite well there. And sometimes it's just a texture of something, so what I tend to do is store them all away in a cupboard, and when I'm building, I've got a building project going, I just get them all out, I spread them all out in this room and then I go through them, but I don't like having them all out at the same time, so I just shove them away in this cupboard for now. And then I've got my major station, so obviously I've got my crafting station, and I'll kind of go round, what I'll do is I'll just kind of go around the room. I'll show you the structure first. So again, keeping the synergies with the rest of the build, and the themes that I've got. I'm using this arch again. Done a few different things. I wanted to make it look like it was a slightly different style of building, so it doesn't look, I haven't used the glass again because that's sort of too fragile a thing for a workshop, so this has got to be more robust. So all I've done is flip the walls, put a stone railing round. I've done a bunch of kind of double door mocked up pillars down there, if you see, and that's all the way round. And then inside the actual build, got this roof. It's a pretty uniform shape actually. Again, it's utility, so it doesn't need to be an odd shape. It's going to be a practical shape. So yeah, I'll take you round the room. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. Saying that, just to look at the roof, I like the. It's a real shame, I think, that the S Plus doesn't give you the option of some of these extra textures, because that texture is so much more interesting than just a double-sided stone. But obviously what you get when you have to use the vanilla pieces, you've got the limitations of the vanilla pieces. So yeah, in this case, in this sort of expanse, it's alright, but anything bigger than that I wouldn't have been able to do it structurally, make it stand up. So yeah, as I said, I've put all the crafting stations in there. This is the first area of note. Again, not a lot of people wouldn't notice that there's something odd about that, and it's a finicky kind of anal attention to detail that maybe only I notice, that gives me kind of enjoyment from and pleasure from having built something. What the difference is, and what I mean, the difference for this is, and a lot of people have done this before, so there's the safes underneath, so I have my, okay, I've got some of my spare saddle blueprints and my tools and armour and stuff all stored in there. But what I didn't want is if you look at the, I'll just get a pointer out for you for a second. So what I didn't want was the texture of the fabricator clipping down into the safe. And if you just place the fabricator on the floor and the safes underneath, or the vaults underneath it, you would get a much higher level of the vault clipped off. I decided that these are actually the handles that are coming through from the vault. I can't remember what these are actually called, the lock boxes or the storage boxes, master storage boxes from underneath. But I decided they actually, for me in that context, they actually kind of look like wrenches. So they look like they fit with the fabricator, whereas I didn't want all of the, I didn't want a big bit of the metal box clipping through. So I had two options: either clip the metal box into the floor somehow, which I could have done, which just would have been a lot more faffing around, or raise this fabricator up slightly. So I can't take this away and show you, but let's see if I can actually get a peek down in this corner. I don't think I can. But what I had to do was put a glass ceiling in there, and in order to get that height, so the glass ceiling had to come out the back of the wall here, but then obviously I had to get the elevation right from somewhere. And the way that the no foundation support works is that you need to start it supported. It needs to come from somewhere. So it had to, in order to get this to work, I'm quite sure I haven't got a crosshair at the moment. Oh, that's why. I had to basically ended up building a foundation on this hillside, and that was establishing my level. But it took me a lot of trial and error to get, and because I'm a bit obsessive about some of these things, it needed to be exact for me. It needed to be that none of this top lip of the fabricator was clipping into the metal box. And in an initial view you wouldn't notice that, but I knew it would be, for me it was important. So it took me a long time to get the foundation at the right position on that little hillside over there, to come over here with a ceiling, to come across here with the ceiling, intersect this wall, and it worked out. It was maybe about 2/3 of the way up this half wall that the ceiling needed to come through. So, you can actually see it there on the HUD. So there is a glass wall there. Actually, let's see if we can just hop over there. And no, don't want to delete anything. And I'll show you what I mean. There we go. So that glass ceiling is actually what the fabricator is sitting on. Oh, sorry, a bit of rubber band in there. So that glass ceiling is what I think there's only one. I think there's only one ceiling there. That's what the fabricator is sitting on. But if you look, it's a very specific point. It's not halfway up that wall or halfway up the half wall. It's that very specific amount, and that meant ceiling, foundation over there somewhere. And it was the particular position of that foundation over on that hill that meant I could translate that into this exact height for me to put my fabricator on. That it meant it cleared enough of the storage boxes. But, and as I said before, and I've said a bunch of times, it's a fairly subtle thing, but it's not straightforward to get that looking as simple as that, or as clean as that. A lot of times if you see this, it'll be clipping through more. So then I just following on around the room. So I've got some barrels here, just a little bit of aesthetic. This has actually got my gasoline in it for the fab. Some windows. Love these arches. I actually originally put this in because I didn't actually have this bridge here before, this gate or this wall, all that walkway, when I was building the workshop originally. So this was my only way in, and I actually really liked it. I left it. So yeah, just continuing the kind of the theme. Nothing special here. I think that's one of the bloops from the one of the models from the shop mod. Just thought it looked quite appropriate there as a sort of like a schematic for when you're building something. This is supposed to be, it was always intended to be kind of a point at which I'm going to have zip lines coming off. So I've got to try and work out a way to get one up into the treehouse that's up there that I'm building. It takes a bit of fiddling, and it's also just I jump out with my wingsuit quite often here, or I could have something come up as a loading area into this. I don't know if maybe I'd build anything more, but maybe just a mammoth or something could unload into this. Couple of smithies. I've put a couple of shelves on the walls, just a bit of more decorating. I built this central island in the middle, put the pillar down as I've done in a couple of other places in the build, and I clipped a load of the tables together. So that one is the blueprint maker. This is just putting the HUD back on so you can see. This is the S Plus converter. Another table, and then I just did a bit of decorating. So a couple of books on there. That's a Taming Journal and a book from Eco's mod. The cup, so it looks like someone's actually working in there. Have a nice cup of tea. And then just I think this is from one of the Castle Keeps and Fortresses mod. Just to make it look like a bit of a workstation. Storage shelf from one of the Eco's stable mod. Just sort of looks right to me. It looks like it's a central workstation in the workshop. Oh, I'm not sure what that flashing was there. I don't know if you'd see that on your side, but and then way out. This is obviously, as you've seen this a couple of times, this continues on towards the wall. So that's the main thoroughfare. And then I played with this, and I'd love to do this more. I wanted this big wall, but I didn't want it to look flimsy. So if you can see there's actually a triple wall there. So what I've got is the arch sandwiching a glass wall with another arch on the outside. So there was a lot of playing with snap points, a lot of clipping things out. I had to have a ceiling sticking out. I had to have a fence foundation in there. I may do that again. It was a lot of work, but I actually really like the aesthetic of it. It looks a bit more, just looks a bit more interesting than having just either a plain glass wall or just an open space. I mean, effectively it's the same as this. This is actually a double arch as well, but I went an extra level and put a third one in there. And then just the last bit in here really, so I wanted something in this corner, and I wanted somewhere to store all my blueprints. So these are my keeping blueprints, my good ones, and some storage. So I just wanted this unit really, and so what this is, I mean, you'll recognise most of the pieces from this, I'm sure, but maybe you're not quite sure how I've put them together. So obviously that at the back there is the bookshelf, S Plus bookshelf, but the S Plus bookshelf is quite short, so it doesn't come up the wall very high, and I really wanted the idea of it sitting on top of these boxes. So that was the first challenge. So what I did was put a shelf back there. If you see that just clipped in behind there, you can see a shelf from the shop mod back there, and sitting on top of that is the bookshelf, and it's sitting just on top enough to effectively have this look like it's kind of all one piece. And obviously I've painted these to look like they're all part of the same bit, and then what you then and you can also see I've put another little shelf up there, a smaller shelf this time, to get these up on top. And just another couple of little details. So you can't put stuff on top of these storage boxes usually, and you can't actually put stuff on top of these shelves either. So what I did was, and you can, if you look closely, you can see that there's a table clipped into that as well. And you can put stuff on top of the table, and luckily the table is just low enough. So if you look at it, see those knots are from the table, they're not actually in the box. But once you paint it all the same, Joe, if I hadn't told you that, you wouldn't have noticed there was a table clipped into that. But having that table clipped onto it gives you the ability to be able to put things on top of it. So just some, obviously those are from the shop mod, but they're in this context they look like spare pieces of armour. So yeah, and then I put one of the mannequins back there as well for storing armour and stuff. So yeah, that's I'm quite happy with it. It's quite a simple build. It does everything I want it to do, and yeah, it's got enough details for me to be happy with it, and happy that I've built something that I don't feel the need to do much more with. So that's it from the outside. So yeah, guys, hope you like this. If you saw anything that you were curious about or interested in, or wanted to get more information on, then let me know. I mean, that just being able to do that thing with the clipping the table into the boxes kind of opens up some possibilities for me for extra things. So you'll probably see that again in other parts of my build. Okay guys, hope you had a good one. Have a good day, take care.